What's up, guys? Classy Metal here. Um, we're 2 weeks into 2019, so I think it's time to finally wrap up 2018. Take a final look back over the year of 2018, some of the releases that came out, and show you some of the high points for me that I happened to find throughout the year. Before I get into this list, I think everybody that does one of these lists says the same thing. This is my list. This is not your list. I only put stuff on my end of the year list that I own on a physical format. So if there's something that you feel like that I missed out on that should have been on this list, could simply be just because I haven't had the opportunity to purchase it physically yet. Maybe I missed out. Maybe it was limited. Maybe I just haven't gotten around to listening to it yet. Or, I mean, there's always that chance too that I just didn't like the album as much as you did. Um, always, I guess as always, feel free to list some of your favorites in the comments. I'm always open to checking out new stuff. If I haven't, if there's something you don't agree on, you can feel free to blast me and talk about how wrong I am in the comments as well. Before I get into my top 25, the way I do my list, I do a just top 25 releases. I don't do just albums, full lengths, EPs. I don't split it up like some people do. Just do one list. I will have some honorable mentions that I'll show first because even though I did the top 25, there were some that I felt like needed to be mentioned along the way. Once I get to the top 25, I will link up. I will find links for all 25 and list those in the description. So if there's something you want to check out, maybe you haven't heard one of these releases yet, and it intrigues you a little bit, I guess you can check it out in the comments. Sorry that I'm just now getting around to do this. It's been a bigger chore, I guess, than I ever expected to be to do this list. My CDs are still all out of whack from the floor remodel and all that stuff. Nothing's organized, so I had to hunt all these down and yeah, it's been a bit of a nightmare. So I'm glad that I was able to track them all down, able to get this list nailed down and hammered out to the top 25. And I'm just going to stop yapping, and I'm going to show you guys what was the best stuff for me this year. The first honorable mention that I'm going to show is the newest release from Dimmu Borgir entitled Aeonian. Did not have super high hopes for this album when it came out. But it kind of surprised me. It's one of the better Dimmu Borgir albums that I've heard in quite some time. They kind of dropped some of the over the top stuff that they had going on in the previous, I would say, two releases, and I think it worked very well in their favor. Fantastic release, much better than I expected to be. The next up is a three-track EP off of Black Lion Records. This is Night Crowned, and this is entitled Humanity Will Echo Out. This is only about 16 minutes, but it is 16 minutes of phenomenal melodic death metal. Definitely check that out. It has some black and death metal elements going on in that as well, but fantastic release. Definitely check that out if you have not done so. Next up is another honorable mention off of Black Lion Records. This is Wormlight with Wrath of the Wilds. Fantastic black metal release. Did a album spotlight video for this as well. If you haven't checked that out, definitely do so. The next honorable mention is I guess an EP that I should not have liked at all. I have every reason in the world to hate this release, but for some reason it suckered me in, and I love it. I don't know what else to say. This is a metalcore slash hardcore. It's got trap beats going on. I know that sounds absolutely horrible, and I know some of you will hate this, but this is Lourdes with In Between Misery and Apathy. Like I said, I have every reason in the world to hate this release. I should not love it as much as I do, but I do love this. Just a few more honorable mentions, and then we'll get into the real meat and potatoes and my top 25. We have Sol de Sangre, death metal release out of South America. I think Colombia. Could be wrong on that. With their self-titled Sol de Sangre. Fantastic death metal. Has some definite originality going on in this, I guess. Some Latin music feeding into the death metal. Fantastic stuff. Definitely check that out if you have not done so. Another death metal release. This is Angerrot with the Splendid Iniquity. I'll get it out in just one second. Technical death metal, blistering technical death metal. Fantastic stuff. Check that out as well. We have the atmospheric black metal legend Summoning with Doom We Come. It pained me quite a bit not to get this in my top 25. There was just some stuff that I like just a bit more, but this is also very strong release from just the legends in that genre. And then the last honorable mention is Noctum Aeternus with Winter Spells. I had every intent and purpose of putting this in my top 25, and the more I listened to it, the more it began to slip a little bit. But it is a very strong atmospheric black metal release. Definitely check that out as well if you have not taken the time to do so. So those are my honorable mentions. There is, I think, almost everything in my top 25 is either black metal or death metal. So I'm just gonna throw that spoiler out there. There may be a surprise here or there. There probably will be a couple surprises that you guys weren't expecting to find in this list. I am drinking. It's called Nature's Nectar Sparkling Apple Cider. It is not alcoholic. I have not fallen off the wagon before some of you see the bottle and I get some hate comments or something. Okay, let's get into it. The first one is a Norwegian black metal band. They're on Dust Tone Records. This is Kvalvåg with their release Seed. Um, my initial introduction to this band was in 2016 with their album Malum or Malum is how you pronounce that. Seed is a bit the same on that same vein of Norway. It sounds like classic Norwegian black metal performed by trolls. I know that that sounds a bit silly, but if you take the time to listen to the link that I provide you guys, you will understand what I'm saying, I think. And one thing I will say, there's no drum machine on that album. It is all live drums, and it is a fantastic performance on the drums on that release. So definitely take the time to check that out. Norwegian black metal, music by trolls for trolls. Moving on, we have more black metal. This is depressive atmospheric black metal out of Germany. This is on Northern Silence. I went blank for a second there. Northern Silence puts out a ton of atmospheric black metal. This came out, I believe, in January. It came out in the very beginning of the year, and I heard quite a bit of praise for it when this first came out, and I think it kind of got lost in the shuffle. It hasn't made very many end of the year lists. And I think a lot of people have just forgotten about this album because it came out so early in the year. This is Anigon's Fate with Insomnia. Sorry, I'm going to be fighting this glare, as I can tell. There is the biggest praise I can give for this album is just the composition of the album. I mean, it's just a perfect composition. It's only 4 tracks, but it's just composed perfectly. It's melancholy. At times it's beautiful. I mean, it's amazing release. If you haven't, or if you've forgotten about this, or you haven't checked it out, definitely do yourself a favor and check that one out. I think a lot of you that follow this channel will enjoy that. Next up, we have some death metal. This is on Transcending Obscurity Records. This is Valgrind with Blackest Horizon, Italian death metal, fantastic stuff. It's got some blistering guitar work. The guitar work on this and the riffage on this are just phenomenal. Has a bit of Morbid Angel and even some Nocturnus worship going on in this. Definitely a band to watch. I'm definitely looking forward to see what else Valgrind can put out in the future. As I said, the name of this album is Blackest Horizon, and as I'm going to say for each one of these, do yourself a favor, check this out. It's a band to watch. I said it was on Transcending Obscurity, and I'm wrong. It's Everlasting Spew. I don't know why I said Transcending Obscurity has some releases on this list. Everlasting Spew has kind of burst forth this year onto the scene. I don't remember hearing a whole lot from Everlasting Spew before this year, but they put out some monster releases. The Construct of Leith album that they put out this year was phenomenal as well. Anyway, that was Valgrind with Blackest Horizon. Next up, we have some death/doom metal off of Hell's Headbangers. This is Chicago's Druid Lord with Grotesque Offerings. Perfect drum delivery on this release. Terrifying, slow, brooding delivery of the vocals, and it's just, I mean, it's nasty, and it's a phenomenal release. I like this just as much, if not more, than their previous output. So definitely another one that you need to check out if you haven't done so. Said this is a Druid Lord with Grotesque Offerings off of Hell's Headbangers. Next up was a band that kind of changed their sound a bit. This is a sorry, I just lost lost my camera feed there. This is a Sojourner with the Shadowed Road. I know when this first came out, there was a very very mixed reaction to this release. And I think the sound that the band put out changed so drastically between albums that some people were a bit put off by this, but it's a epic atmospheric black metal. I mean, it has some definite doom metal influence going on in this. I think it's a very, I guess, a much more mature album than their previous. There's a bit of draconian influence going on in this as well. They added in the female vocals. I think it worked pretty well. I think the doom direction is a very mature sound going forward for Sojourner. So I'm actually excited to see what they have in store in the future. I know there's been some big things going on with that band, and definitely looking forward to see where they're going forth from that. Next up, we have some more death metal. At number 20, we have Skinless with Savagery. New York death metal, brutal death metal, fantastic release. Very definite return to form musically to some of the earlier Skinless. It doesn't have the kind of goofy sound clips and sound bites going on that the earlier albums had, but it definitely has musically. It's very similar to some of the earlier stuff. I can do without the sound bits. I mean, I know I found them entertaining as I was younger. As I've gotten older, I mean, they're still funny, but the music is what matters the most to me. Fantastic stuff. The only thing that I would change probably about this album is I would nix the Crowbar cover that they have on this. They do a high rate high rate extinction cover, a cover of the song High Rate. But yeah, I could have lived without that. It probably would have been higher up on the list without that cover. But a couple of the songs on this that I found just amazing was Exacting Revenge and Skull Session. Those are definitely two tracks to check out on that if you haven't listened to any of that at all so far. Moving on at number 19, we have Immortal with Northern Chaos Gods. This was an album that took me by surprise. I heard the praise going for this. I wasn't really excited about checking this release out at all, to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting much out of the album, and I was blown away. I mean, it's one of the better Immortal albums I think that I've ever heard. Definitely better than the solo project that Abbat put out, and I was super impressed. It made number 19 on my list. I don't have to say too much about Immortal because if you're watching this, chances are you already know Immortal, and there's nothing that I can say. You've probably already checked that album out. Still going to be linked up just in case you have not done so. More death metal. This is some old school death metal. This is Outer Tomb or Ultra Tomb. I don't know how you pronounce that. With Necro Vortex. This is Canadian old school death metal. You can tell that they definitely want to pay homage to some of the greats in that old school death metal genre. Autopsy, there's some Autopsy worship going on. Asphyx, Bolt Thrower, definitely I wouldn't say worship, but you could definitely tell that they were influenced by those early bands. Fantastic stuff. Definitely check it out. Moving on, we have some more atmospheric black metal. Number 17, Canbard with Nature Stays Silent. This is epic atmospheric black metal out of Switzerland, I believe. Um, this is also on Northern Silence Records. So Northern Silence always putting out quality black metal releases. Um, the the production on that is a bit polarizing among people that have listened to the album. I've heard arguments both ways. I heard people that thought that the album was pretty much ruined just because of the production, and I didn't think so. I thought the kind of poor production, the lo-fi production on that album, I think it worked. I think it actually worked in the album's favor. So I don't know. Maybe it was just me. I think the sound of the drums was a bit off-putting for some people, but I loved it. I wouldn't change a thing about that album. Number 16, we have Morning by Morning with their self-titled. This is their debut album, and I guess his debut album. Suryande, the mastermind behind this project. I have to give the man props. I've been in sell and trade groups with him over the years, and I had no idea that he had something like this in him, that he could put this out. I didn't know he had that kind of musicianship in him as well. He does all the musicianship. He has a couple guest spots on the album, but it is a fantastic release. I was blown away listening to that. A couple standout tracks on that. Wintertide, probably my favorite release, my favorite track on that release, and The Bride of Ice. Those are definitely two of the standout tracks to check out if you have not listened to that. It's depressive black metal, atmospheric black metal. It has some post black going on in that as well. So that is definitely something you need to check out. Number 15, more black metal. We have Wayfarer with World's Blood, and I just hit my computer. Apologize for that. This is on Profound Lore. Um, they say, I think they say Old West black metal is how they pronounce themselves, something along that. I love that artwork. I mean that. I love the artwork on the front. I love the artwork on the back. I'm not going to get into showing the whole release because I've already done so. But fantastic release. It matches the artwork perfectly. They capture that sound, that old West, old American sound that they were looking for, old American black metal sound. I know that's I guess it's hard to explain, but it works. If you listen to the album, it works. It fits that soundscape that they were looking for perfectly. The simple approach that they took to that release kind of enhanced that aesthetic, that historical aesthetic that they were going for, and it worked. It worked perfectly. At number 14, we have Bjorn's Hall with Estuary. Definite step up. Mountain Hymns, their previous release was phenomenal. I love that release. Estuary was even better than that. This is Pagan Black Metal on Nottermock Productions. Nottermock's one of those labels that I really don't think I've heard something from that label that I didn't like. So once I see that it's from Nottermock, I'm pretty excited and looking forward to checking your release out when I see that. And I was not let down by the new Bjorn's Hall. I think they actually are looking to release something again this year as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's a gritty, gloomy, blackened folk, pagan black metal. I don't know what else to say. Fantastic. Favorite track off of that, New Hampshire Rain, I think is the name of it. New Hampshire Rain. That's it. Yeah, definitely check that one out if you have not done so. As I said, I will say it again. I will link all these up in the description. I'm at 17 minutes already. I'm sorry. I'm trying to rush through this as best as I can. I hope I'm not speaking too fast or making it hard to follow. At number 13, we have some more death metal. This is Dequisitor with Downfall of the Apostates. This is death metal out of Denmark on Dark Descent Records. This is without a doubt the heaviest release that I heard all year. It's so heavy, it's so dense that I felt like when I listened to this, I had a weight on my chest that I just could not shake. It just weighs you down and just beats you down. It is that heavy, that dense, and it is a phenomenal death metal release. Slow, brooding death metal at times, and then blistering at other times. It's just super heavy. The heaviest, the vocals, everything's so heavy. So definitely check that out if you have not done so. At number 12, we have Evoken with Hypnagogia, Hypnagogia, Funeral Doom / Death Metal on Profound Lore Records. This came out on November 30th, and had it been released earlier than that, and I had more time to spend with this, it probably would have been higher up on this list. I actually put off doing my list and finalizing my end of the year list until I got that album in the mail because I knew it was going to make my list. I wanted to spend some time with that as well as some other stuff before finalizing my list. And I honestly think had I had more time with that release, it would have been higher than number 12 because it is that good. Number 11, we have from Transcending Records, we have Frost Giant with the Harlot Star. They are out of Pennsylvania, and I have some notes on this one. I'm going to have to read because I thought it was a bit funny. So let me pop that up for a second. Metal Archives describes Frost Giant as melodic death / folk metal / hardcore, and yeah, that's one way of doing it. There's so many different ideas and sounds swirling around that they are able to perfectly craft and hone into just an amazing output. It's even the clean vocals and the growls bounce off each other and harmonize and work off each other so well. The riffs on it, I don't know. I fell in love with the album the first time I listened to it, and it's one that's just stuck with me all year long. I knew upon my first listen to that release that it was going to make this list. It was just a matter of how high or how low that it made this top 25. Two of my favorite tracks on that release are The Forgotten Graves and Forgive Me Not. So that's a couple you can check out if you don't want to take time to hunt down my link in the description. At number 10, we have Cryptic Enslavement with Perverse Hallucinatory Descent. This is a Canadian brutal death metal off of Gorehouse Productions. I did a album spotlight video for this as well that you can find in my album spotlights. Definitely a worthwhile watch if you want to check that out. As I said, it's brutal death metal. Has a bit of a slam going on. It's I don't want to come forth and say that they're a slam band at all, but they have some definite slam vibes going on in that as well. It's got some of the notes I took said hints of slam, so yeah, that's what I'm going for. And it's just the transitions in this in that album. It transitions from fast to slow to the I guess the chugs. I mean it's got blazing riffs, flawless transitions, amazing brutal death metal release. Go check it out if you have not done so. Canada representing. I don't know if it's because I got so many new releases in Metalhead Box, which is based out of Canada. I don't know. There's more Canadian metal on this list this year than I think I've ever had on a list. This is Battle Soul at number 9 with Sunward and Starward. This is on CDN Records. It's a folky death metal. I didn't enjoy their previous album. I think it was called Tir na Nog or something like that. Didn't like that at all. Their first release, Lay Down Thy Burdens, or I guess the I don't know. It wasn't their first release, but the release before Tir na Nog was my introduction to Battle Soul, and it was Lay Down Thy Burdens or Lay Thy Burdens Down. I think one of those was the name of it. Amazing folky death metal release. Was my as I said, my introduction to this band. This is more of the same of that initial album for me. Sunward and Starward, it's amazing. It's better than I had my hopes up for, especially after hearing their previous release. And it's super bounce back album. I mean, it's number 9 on my list, so I liked it that much. Next up is a depressive black metal project. This is a band that I have not heard one single person mention at all. I'm the only person I know that enjoys this, so I hope some of you go check this out after watching this video, because I think some of you, especially some of you that follow this and are into kind of the same vein of black metal that I tend to show most often, you'll probably like this. This is Stardust, and the name of the album is Fragment eines Gebrochenen Lebens. This is depressive black metal from Germany. As I said, I'm the only person that I've heard even mention this. I found this by accident, and it was a complete surprise, a complete pleasant surprise. I was blown away by the release. It's their first full-length album. They have a couple demos and some splits that they've done, but that is the actual first full-length, and for a first full-length, it's crazy that it's that good. It's on Wolfman Productions, and it's 9 tracks, I think. Yeah, 9 tracks, 50, almost an hour long. And the production on it is very clean for depressive black metal. It's got a very clean production. That may put some of you off, but I found it to be amazing. My nose is itching. I don't know what's going on. We're winding this down. I'm at 23 minutes. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get through this. At number 7, we have Ephemerins with the bleakness of our the bleakness of our constant. This is the 3rd full length. This one that was actually released on Nordvist/Bindrune. Have not heard one bad release under the Bindrune label. They don't have the largest library in the world, but everything with that Bindrune stamp on it, you can count on it being quality material. Is this as good as their first release, their first EP? When I first found Ephemerins would probably be my favorite thing that they've ever done. The Inward Cold, I believe, was the name of that. Will I ever like anything they do as much as that? I don't know. That was the one for me that sealed my love for that band. I love everything that Jory does, but I love the bleakness of our constant. But as I said, I love all of their stuff. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. Number 6, death metal. This is a band that only other person I've even heard mention this. I even think he said something about that he cannot believe I guess how criminally underrated or overlooked that this album has been was Brandon on the Scourge of Vinyl channel. Number 6, we have Demonomancy with Poison Atonement. This is amazing, amazing death metal slash blackened death metal on Dark. This was on Invictus Productions. I wanted to say Dark Descent because for some reason in my head I just when I think of Scourge of Vinyl I think Dark Descent Records. Uh, Favorite track on this, The Last Hymn to Eshatan. Amazing release. Why so many of you were swooning and singing the praises of the new Archgoat. I was just in my little corner listening to Demonomancy and being completely happy about that. I was very late to the ball game on that release. It came out in February and it was later on in the year before I found it, and it's been in steady rotation for me ever since. It is blistering, it is dark, evil stuff, but it is amazing stuff. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it much more than the newest Archgoat. So if you're into Archgoat, you might want to check out Demonomancy if you have not done so, because I think you will dig it. Number 5. Another off the Black Lion Records label. This is one that I fell in love with this early on in the year. This is Soul Dissolution with Stardust. This was another one that was so much better than what I was expecting when I first heard it. Uh, I did an album spotlight for this as well, so definitely check that out. This is depressive. This is atmospheric black metal out of Belgium. They also released an EP that very easily I could have put on this list as well because it is that good. It's entitled Nowhere, but I didn't want to put 2 releases in the top 25 from the same band. But I kind of lumped these 2 in together because they are just that good. Stardust was my favorite of the 2, so that's the one I'm going with. This came back, as I said earlier in the year, it came out in March. Had a very had some tough times at the beginning of the year, and that kind of got me through that as well. I had a lot of time on my hands to listen to that album. Fell in love with that release. Listened to it over and over. The last 3 tracks on that album are just absolutely perfect. I think my favorite, the way they flow. The Mountain Path, The Last Farewell, and Far Above the Boiling Sea. Just those 3 tracks, they flow perfectly and lead into each other, and it's just an amazing release. Check it out. At number 4, we have None with Life Has Gone On Long Enough. Depressive black metal out of Portland, Oregon. This is on Hypnotic Dirge. The instrumental intro, and they have a Burzum instrumental cover on the outro. Let me shut up and start that again. The instrumental intro and then the Burzum cover on the outro lead into this album and close out of this album perfectly. I usually don't like covers on full lengths like this, but the Burzum cover for this works pretty well. Yeah, it life is long enough. It says life has gone on long enough, and life is long enough is my favorite track on this release. I can tell that I'm getting up towards the top of this because I'm getting tongue-tied. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to breathe for a second because I don't want to blow it on the top 3 because this is the best part of the list. At number 3, off of finally Transcending Obscurity Records, this is Gayria with Unsettling Whispers. This is Portuguese black metal. As I said, it was on Transcending Obscurity Records. They are able to brilliantly craft remnants of sludge in this and hardcore into a black metal sound. I know that sounds a bit ridiculous, but it works so well. There is an originality on this release that I have not heard in black metal and in quite a long time. Amazing release. Unsettling Whispers is a perfect album title for that. Works so well. It even has some Unsettling Whispers on the album along the way. So definitely check that one out. That's one that I have to give special thanks to Metalhead Box for introducing me to, because I probably never would have heard that release otherwise. And I'm so glad that I did because it's that good. Next up at number 2, this is one that I thought for sure was going to be my number 1 of the year. When I first heard it, it stayed in that place in my heart for quite a bit, but it was overtaken. This is Panopticon with The Scars of Man on the Once Nameless Wilderness 1 and 2. By now, I know most of you have already heard this. I know this is one of those releases that people either love or they hate. If you're not into that folky Americana sound, you probably hate this, or at least hate the second half of this release. I found it all, albeit a pretentious album, I found it to be a perfect pretentious album, if that makes any sense. 2 hours long of phenomenal music. I have listened to that over and over and over, and I was at the point where I thought maybe I should quit uh, listening to it for a bit just to so I wouldn't burn myself out on it. But I never did. It's that good. It is a bit of a stretch to sit down and listen to it for the full 2 hours, but it's best if you can. I mean, it's that good. I was the first time I listened to it, I was just enthralled for the first 2 hours, and I immediately wanted to start it over, but I couldn't invest 4 hours of my life at that time into nothing else but listening to that album. It is that good. Sheep and Wolves Clothing, just it flows. It tells the story of the song. The music tells the story perfectly. It has that blistering sound where you can just feel the wolf chasing and attacking. It just works. Snowbird and Branches, probably my favorite track on the album. Out of the two albums, fantastic release. I just nearly perfect album, and yeah, Austin is amazing. I mean, everything he does is amazing. At number one, if you know me at all, you probably already know what my number one is. This was a band that kind of changed the game for me. Yeah, I think in 2011 or 2012, I think it was 2011 when their debut, maybe 2010, somewhere in that time span. I don't know. Their debut release came out and it changed. It changed me. I mean, it sounds a bit silly to say an album changes a person, but it changed my whole outlook on black metal. It changed my outlook on atmospheric black metal. It opened my eyes to a genre, and it opened, I think, a lot of people's eyes. It was one of the forerunners in that whole movement. I know some people hate the modern atmospheric black metal movement, but this is one of those bands that kind of the grandfathers of that movement now. The band I'm talking about is Elderwind, and my number one album for the year is The Colder the Night by Elderwind. As I said, The Magic of Nature, their first album, it changed me. I mean, I never looked at black metal again the same as I did before I listened to that release. I was a bit worried when I heard that they were coming out with a new release because it had been several years, and oftentimes the follow-ups are never as good, especially when you have something with that high of a nostalgia factor looking back on. This was a perfect follow-up to The Magic of Nature. As I said, this is The Colder the Night. It's actually in Russian, the title. That's just the translation. Um, I was probably 8 minutes into this album, and I knew that I was hearing something special all over again. It kept me glued to the. I listened to it through my headphones. Kept me glued to the headphones. I didn't want to stop listening to it. I listened to it over and over and over. I think it 3 or 4 times. Actually, over and over and over. The first time that as soon as the CD came in, I held off. I was actually proud of myself because I held off. I didn't listen to it digitally. I wanted to wait till my copy came in and spend time with it that way. And it's phenomenal. As I said, 8 minutes in, I knew I was hearing something special, and it was something that I wouldn't hear anything else better than for the rest of the year. So yeah, that's my number one album of the year, 2018, Elderwind, Colder the Night. So 2018 is behind us. It's time to look forward, go forward into 2019. Have a giveaway that should be coming up pretty soon. I may be taking a break from YouTube pretty soon as well. I have a shout out slash collection update that I want to do before that, and then I'm going to do the giveaway, and I may step away for a while just to kind of recharge my batteries and reignite the passion and the fire for doing these videos. But that's not set in stone yet. We're just going to kind of play it by ear and see how that goes. I hope you all enjoyed the list. Definitely check out the stuff in the description. If you haven't heard some of these, you go listen to them. Let me know what you think. I'd like to know what you guys like from this year. You can make your own list and put it in the comments, or just tell me some of the albums that you like from 2018 yourselves. Yeah, that's all I've got. I will link up my, as long as I'm linking stuff up in the description, I will link my Instagram and my Facebook for this page, for this channel. If you want to follow that, you can do that as well. Going to try to shut this off real quick because I have 10 seconds and it'll be 35 minutes. Sorry the video was so long. Stay classy, stay metal. I will see you all very soon in the next video, I promise.